Hey everyone, welcome to another blog right here, right now. Today I will show you a few general things about beautiful Canada, which I think you should know before visiting. Let's say important stuff, general stuff, specific stuff, and every kind of stuff. I mean, these tips are not something from outer space, but they will literally save your life. So, Canada, beautiful place, pretty diverse actually, not what everybody thinks. For example, I've heard some people say it's just a cold place. It has high winds, mountains all over the place, polar bears outside of your house, and freezing water. Well, yes and no. Canada is really diverse. It has 10 provinces: Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, New Scotia, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, and Saskatchewan. The three territories are Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and Yukon. Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver concentrate year after year with the largest number of visitors in Canada. The three Canadian metropolises monopolize the podium of visits for their cultural richness and tourist offer. It's important to know which areas to avoid, emergency numbers, and how to be prepared for all weather conditions. Know what to wear. Temperatures and climates differ across Canada, so it's important to do research before traveling. For example, a visit to Vancouver in winter will be very different from winter in Winnipeg. Winter weather essentials, no matter where you go, include good quality snow boots, woolen accessories, and a waterproof jacket. Protect yourself against petty crime. Petty crime is unfortunately rife in most large cities around the world. Many thieves target tourist attractions and hotels as they believe vacationers are easy targets. Handy tips include leaving your passport in the hotel safe and carrying a photocopy with you. It's also helpful to try and keep luggage out of sight in cars and not to leave any valuables behind, even in a locked vehicle. Prepare for weather conditions. Canada is known for its intense winter weather conditions, so it's important to keep a constant eye on the country's rapidly changing weather. The Weather Network is a good website to track conditions. In winter, be prepared for road closures due to avalanches and snowstorms. If driving in winter, ensure your rental vehicle is equipped with snow tires. Visiting national parks. Canada is the world's second biggest country and is home to many stunning national parks. But each park poses a different threat, depending on the wildlife that calls it home. Parks Canada lists visitor safety tips for most national parks on its website, so it's a great resource. Transport. Canada's major cities have different public transport options. In Vancouver, the SkyTrain is the world's longest fully automated driverless system, whereas Toronto uses a subway, bus, and streetcar public transport network. When traveling in rural areas, it's safest to rent a car, as it may be difficult to get from point A to point B otherwise. Taxis and Ubers are also available in urban areas. Avoid bad areas. Most cities around the world inevitably have unsafe areas or neighborhoods, and Canada is not an exception. In Vancouver, the downtown east side is an area known for its homelessness and drug problems. However, it's next to Gastown, one of the city's best foodie neighborhoods. So avoiding it is difficult, but it's important for visitors to be aware of their surroundings. In Toronto, locals recommend staying away from Sherbourne and Parliament streets after dark. By the standard of some parts of the world, Canada is not a country with a lot of particularly flashy folk traditions, which isn't to say none exist. In general, it's the aging process and the various key dates that occur as a Canadian moves from adolescence to adulthood that tend to be the most celebrated and ritualized moments in mainstream Canadian culture. Canadian traditions also tend to be closely tied to the country's various holidays. Canadian weddings. Weddings in Canada have gotten so elaborate and complicated that their planning and organization is now a multi-billion-dollar industry unto itself. Surveys have shown that the average Canadian couple will spend upwards of $30,000 on their special day, while wedding guests will spend close to $700, each on gifts, special clothes, and other related expenses. Wow, with those prices, I don't know if I will ever get married. Now, I think it is time to talk about general Canadian traditions, because it is important to know cultural information about anywhere you go. The stereotype of the polite Canadian may be cliché, but it does have some basis in reality. Canada is a nation with fairly strong conventions of social etiquette and properly obeying and understanding these rules is an important way to fit in to broader Canadian society. In general, Canadians are mostly friendly, unpretentious people who value honesty, sensibility, empathy, and humility in their relationships with friends and strangers, as well as respect for the privacy and individualism of others. Canadian attitudes towards time. For the most part, Canadians are quite literal about time and schedules. If someone says to come at 3, he usually expects his guest to be there at 3. Other Canadian taboos. Many Canadians have complicated views about the United States, and mentioning America or Americans can often provoke intense arguments or discussion that some might find uncomfortable. Regardless of political context, the issue of abortion is considered almost uniformly taboo to discuss openly, as are any questions or theories about innate differences between genders or members of different races. Canadian stereotypes and politeness. The common international stereotype that Canadians are excessively or even absurdly polite is well known in Canada, and even if not entirely warranted, still affects the way Canadians deal with one another. In practice, a lot of Canadians, particularly those from more upper middle class backgrounds, take very seriously the idea that they should apologize a lot, or only ask for things in a very vague, indirect sort of way. There's also a fairly common perception that a stereotypically good Canadian does not engage in excessive bragging or self-praise, but rather carries herself with a strong sense of humility and even light self-deprecation. Of course, in the end, stereotypes are just that, unfair generalizations. Each Canadian is ultimately an individual, and as such will likely have his own unique perspective on how to be a decent and well-mannered human being, and sadly, there will always be a large number of Canadians who also can't be bothered at all. Well, some will say it is a lot to process, but I think it is important if you go visit this country for a long period of time, and it is also important to understand that you are the visitor. Thank you.